I didn't mean to record, but since I am, I just roll with it. Hey, now, good people. Couple things. One, your midterm, right, should be in. I saw a few of them in the assignment folder, and make sure you get that in because we need that before we need that for your portfolio to be considered complete. Also, the final drafts of your instructor chosen essay should be in as well. I saw a few in the assignment folder, but certainly not. I have more students than essays right now, and that's off balance. So if you did not get your final draft of your instructor chosen essay in, make sure you get that in as soon as humanly possible. Same thing with your midterm. Make sure you go ahead and knock that out as soon as possible as well. All right. And I think one of the things that we can be mindful of moving forward, to put ourselves in the best position for success, try to be proactive, about things. Like if you struggle with the midterm, that's fine. But like Sunday night, is not the time to make that known. So in the future, if you do have an issue with, an assignment, try to address that as early as possible. All right. I know things are kind of upside down with the pandemic right now, but try your best to be as proactive as possible because it's just in your best interest as a student, to stay on top of those things. All right. But if you still need time to get that midterm in, get it in. That's the same thing with your instructor chosen essay. Get that in. And the reason it's so critical for us to get our instructor chosen essay in, if we haven't gotten it in already, is it's we want to get that wrapped up because right now, all right, and to right now, all right, we're about to start our next essay. And just a little bit about the common essay. One, it's about the book. So if you haven't or if you've fallen behind in the reading, just make sure you get yourself caught up. And actually, we're going to be on break next week, so that's actually a great time, to get yourself caught up, if you need to. All right. Same thing with our inquisitive exercises, or maybe you missed some reading questions a while ago. Use the break to get yourself caught up. So when we come back, the only thing we'll have to focus on is the common essay and then our final impromptu essay at the end of the semester. But it's mid-November now, and we're off next week. When we come back, it'll be just about December, and then there's only like 3 weeks left in December. So there's really not much time left in the semester. There's enough time to complete everything we have to complete, but there's not enough time to procrastinate. All right, if you've been procrastinating in the past, I know I struggle with procrastination as well, so definitely not above these issues. All right, so now, kind souls, here it is. Okay, let me just swap over into student view real quick. And today I didn't really have a really long meeting plan. I really just wanted to go over the prompt today, and then on Wednesday we'll have another meeting where I go over some structural things. But once I go over the prompt, really, just following on with the writing process, I want you all to begin brainstorming. Okay, thinking of ideas. All right, to flesh this essay out. All right, and this essay, we call it the common essay because like I think I explained last week, most, if not all, of the English 1060 students are, writing the same essay. And if not, they're writing something pertaining to born a crime. All right. And like I said, this is where your reading is going to pay off. This is where your annotations are going to pay off. Even the reading questions, that I give to you, um, even those, this is where all those skills that we've been building, this is where they're going to come into play. So if you look in the week 9 module, All right, there's a few things. There's one about outlining. There's some good slides on punctuation, but this is what we want: common essay, rough draft. And if you notice, the first draft, just like our instructor chosen essay, first draft, 2 pages is fine. If you want to write more, you can, but that's all we need for the first draft. All right, not due until Sunday night. And I made it Sunday night so it wouldn't stretch over into the break. But if you want to work on this over the break, be my guest. Which I don't recommend though. Just get it done. Get it out of the way. Get your first draft out of the way. All right. Mine was already open because I was already working on it. Okay. I'm gonna change something already. All right. Now, okay, again, all right. The first draft is due November 22nd, and it's 2 pages. We'll just say 2 at least pages. All right. At least 2 pages for your first draft. All right. A review of Born a Crime in Esquire magazine notes, quote, Noah's childhood stories are told with all the hilarity and intellect that characterizes his comedy while illuminating the dark and brutal history in South Africa's history that must never be forgotten. Okay. So there is, I know personally, when I read this book for the first time, there are definitely some things that made me laugh out loud to myself or laugh out loud. But there's also some things in the book that are deadly serious, and there's just a good blend of the things that are funny versus things that are not so funny. Also, just as most gifted comedians, Trevor Noah has like this great way of describing tragic events in a way that has some humor injected into them. So hopefully, we picked up on that, as you were reading. Um, but if not, it's something you can go back as go back over your annotations. All right. So here is your job for this essay. All right, let me just bold and underline. Okay. In a well-developed essay, citing specific examples from the book. That means, just practice, quoting material from the book to the best of your ability. That's something I will cover as on Wednesday as well. But if you want to get started early, just practice it the best you can. All right. But in a well-developed essay citing specific examples from the book, discuss some of the ways racism and poverty impacted Noah's upbringing. And the emphasis, or one thing we should pay attention to with the wording, some of the ways. Okay. Meaning you don't have to discuss, every single minute way that Trevor Noah's upbringing was affected by racism and poverty. However, I do want you to discuss um, just enough to develop this essay. Okay, so if we're talking about the writing process, now that we know the prompt, we should already be brainstorming. Okay, what are some ways racism and poverty affected Noah's childhood? All right, that's what we should be thinking about as we approach or as we start thinking about our draft. And then here's some mechanical stuff or like the logistics of your essay. All right, one, make sure your essay, just like our first essay, make sure this one is a minimum of 4 full pages, excluding the works cited page. All right, everybody's works cited page is going to look the same because we only want you to use the one source for this essay. So really, Born a Crime is going to be on everybody's works cited page, and I'll show you all how to format that properly. When the time comes. All right, make sure your essay is formatted properly as well. Okay. And we had this discussion a couple weeks ago. Again, just make sure you're using the proper font. All right. 12 point Times New Roman. All right. Like I have up here. All right. Make sure you aren't skipping additional spaces when you don't have to. All right. So really what I'm saying is make your paper like an authentic 4 pages. If you're skipping, skip 2 or 3 or 4 lines between every paragraph, that's not 4 pages. Or if you're using a font, that's bigger than the one you're supposed to use, that's not 4 pages. If you have like a huge title on your paper, not 4 pages. So again, just make sure your paper is uniform. Okay. Name, instructor name, class and date on the left, last name, page number on the right. Skip a line, 1 line for your title. All right. And then skip another line and start your essay. So don't have all these like unnecessary gaps, in your essay. So times 12 font, Times New Roman, no decorative or widely spaced fonts. Okay. I really like Arial, but I know I can't use Arial, in an academic setting. All right. If I do, I have to shrink the font. So I just, use Times New Roman. Okay. Same thing with your margins. Make sure your margins are set properly, layout, and then 1 page, or excuse me, 1 inch. Usually Microsoft Word will default to 1 inch margins. But sometimes you do have to mess around with the slide rule thing up here. This is kind of off because it's just the way this document is formatted. All right. But in your paper, okay, just make sure you're using the proper margins. All right. And then MLA formatting for titles, paginations, in text, citation in the works cited page. Um, Titles, whenever you write the title of our book, it's in italics. All right. Just like it is right here, italicized. Don't put the title of the book in quotation marks. Always use italics. All right. You can underline it, but that's kind of old school. All right. So yeah, just make sure you're writing the book properly. And then pagination and in-text citation, it just means. And again, I will give you a broader explanation on Wednesday. All right. But this would just mean, oops, that just means our in-text citation. And then very quickly, let's just see if I can do it fast. Oh, nice. Okay, very good. All right, I'm on Scribner right now, and I'll show you. This is like an easy way or easier way to do a works cited page. All right. You know what? Never mind. I'm wasting too much time on this. All right. There we go. All right. So something like this would be on your works cited page. You just got 5 million things open right now. Again, always start your works cited page on a new page. Okay. And don't call it anything but works cited. So all of our works cited pages are going to look like this. All right. And I usually just put one of these on D2L and you all can just paste it onto your document. That's fine. But whatever you do, just make sure your works cited page gets its own page, and then just make sure you're, putting the bibliographic information in there properly. But, a more detailed explanation on Wednesday. All right. So MLA formatting for titles, pagination, in-text citation, and a works cited page. Okay. And this stuff it just comes from practice. And truth be told, you will still be working on this skill when you get to English 1510. But we as English faculty just want you all to have really just an understanding of the basics, so you can I guess hit the ground running in English 1510, which is your next class. All right. So here's some tips. And this is really what I want to go over. I'll go over each one of these or most of these in greater detail on Wednesday. Okay. But a well-written essay begins with an introductory paragraph that grasps the reader's attention and contains a clear thesis statement about what will be discussed in the body of the essay. How are you going to start? Okay. Don't start with some generic opening like, Trevor Noah wrote a book called Born a Crime, and it's about his childhood. Okay. Don't start off like that. Okay. I mean, you can start off maybe with a brief reflection on like apartheid or poverty, growing up in poverty. Or one thing you'll notice about, or hopefully you noticed about Trevor Noah, and really is his mom. Um, and if you've ever experienced poverty, you know how this works, where it's just taking what you have and making the best of it. Okay, and that is all throughout this book, whether it's the Trevor's mother's car, or there's just or the meals that he would have. So there's just a lot. All right. So maybe you want to reflect on poverty. All right. Maybe you want to reflect on apartheid. Maybe you want to affect how, racism affects people. But definitely don't start off with some generic opening. Trevor Noah wrote a book, or don't start off like this semester we read Born a Crime. Don't start off in any of those ways. Okay. Again, just use an attention grabber. Maybe use a short quote, to begin with. Since we're talking about, or since the book, has, many mentions of apartheid, and it's set, or it begins in apartheid South Africa, um, finding a short quote from Nelson Mandela, that would be a great way to begin these papers. A short quote. If you're using a quote for an attention grabber, don't use anything extremely long. All right. And I'm talking like nothing more than two, maybe three lines. All right. But three is probably too much for your introduction. So if you can find a short quote, to help you get started, that'd be a great way to begin. All right. But again, don't rely on some like generic opening. The first line of your paper, it really sets the tone. So if you start off in some, generic way that's been done to death, or you're telling your reader something that they already know, then in some ways that you've already lost their attention. So, try to start off in a way that's interesting. Okay. And then something we'll talk about additionally on Wednesday is your thesis statement. Okay. Thesis statement is just the main idea of your essay. And we had a bit of freedom, with that with our last essay because it was a personal narrative. But these essays are not personal. In fact, there should be no mention of anything that's personal to you in these essays. So, like phrases like I think, I feel, in my opinion, I read, these phrases do not belong in an essay like this. All right. And students who have had me before, they know when I ask them this question, they already know the answer. But when I tell them, like, when I ask them, like, who cares about our feelings? Who cares about, what we think? Who cares about our opinions? The answer is no one. All right. No one cares how we think or what we think, about what we feel, about our opinions. Okay. And of course, your teachers care about all that stuff. But I just say that no one cares to get people out of the habit of I think, right? I feel, in my opinion. Again, try to remove these phrases from your vocabulary as writers, as student writers. All right, because you're very rarely going to be asked, what do you, like questions that involve, responses that begin I think or I feel. Also, just as writers in an academic field, I think, I feel, in my opinion, makes you sound like you lack confidence as a writer. And one of your best tools as a writer is going to be like projecting confidence. All right. When your reader sees your name on the top of your paper, to them, you're the expert on that subject. So if you sound unsure of yourself, it's going to make them really skeptical about what you're saying in your essay. So no, I think, I feel, I believe. All right. Also, don't make your thesis statement into an announcement. This essay will be about how Trevor Noah's life was affected by poverty and racism. Okay. Just make a statement. Okay. Wednesday, I'll give you all some examples though. But if you want to try to come up with some, in the meantime, I'm all for it. Okay. And my suggestion as well, um, while you're in the brainstorming process, try to come up with multiple thesis statements. Okay. And really what I mean, maybe you're just jotting some down, on a scrap piece of paper. That's fine. All right. Or maybe you got your computer out and you're in Microsoft Word and you're just messing around with ideas. That's fine as well. All right, and I think that's one of the most effective ways to come up with a valid thesis statement is to just try different ones. Okay, Wednesday I'll give you all several thesis statements, and you can use the ideas, of course, but just not word for word. Okay, so a good essay or an effective essay starts off with an introduction paragraph. Okay, an intro is just that. It introduces your reader to whatever you're going to be talking about. Okay, try to yeah. I'll go back to what I was about to say on Wednesday when we have our next meeting. Okay, make sure your paper is organized. All right. So if we're talking about organization, first thing, like I just mentioned, want to begin with that intro. Attention grabber, provide some background or some context. Background again is just getting your reader involved in the discussion. All right. Make sure no matter what you do in your introduction, somewhere, okay, you have to mention the title and author of the text. All right, somewhere. Okay. And then present your thesis statement. Now, when you get to the body of your essay, bold. There we go. Unified paragraphs that begin with topic sentences. Okay. And then unified, it just means based on one idea. All right. So if you have, let's say, of course, in your essay, Trevor Noah's childhood was impacted, in multiple ways, by racism and poverty. And one of the ways that racism affected his childhood is that it affected his relationship with his father because he couldn't interact with him, as much as he could or as much as he wanted to, or it was impossible for them according to, the law. All right. So if I'm writing that paragraph, that is all I'm going to discuss in that paragraph. Okay. So if we began with this as our topic sentence, or better yet, I'll just frame it like this. All right. So if this is my topic sentence for this paragraph, then this is all I'm going to discuss. That's it. I'm not going to bring in, things that happened at his school. Not going to talk about his relationship with his mother. This is not going to even talk about his relationship with Abel. All right. If this is my topic sentence, this is all that's going to be discussed in the paragraph. So that's what I mean by paragraph unity. Whatever idea you present in your topic sentence, that's the idea you have to follow through with in that paragraph. And then maybe your next paragraph could begin further. Okay, now if this is my next paragraph, then this is all I will discuss. Okay, but I would not discuss both of these ideas in the same paragraph. All right, so just remember, right? Just keep this in mind. Okay, new idea, new paragraph. Don't slam all your ideas in the same paragraph. Okay, and while you're in the brainstorming process, okay, this is just something that I suggest students. You don't have to do this, but this is a good way of brainstorming. All right, and then you can just keep going. And I'm just hitting when I hit tab, like if I put my mouse right here and hit tab, it just makes new boxes. All right, but this is a good way to brainstorm. And when you're brainstorming, whether you do something like this or another form of brainstorm, in this process, jot down everything you can think of. Even if it's even if it's something that you eventually don't use in the paper, in the early stages of the writing process, it's important to just get your ideas out. So just keep going, jot down ideas, anything that comes to mind. And then once you get a good amount of these reasons or the ways that he was affected by racism and or poverty, then right? Look back at these and see which ones you want to pursue in your paper. But writing it's already difficult, but I think it's even more difficult, if we don't do any planning or if we don't, try to get ourselves organized before, we actually start putting our ideas together in a draft. All right. So, think about what your body paragraphs are going to consist of. All right. So again, I got so many documents open. Unified paragraphs that begin with topic sentence. All right. And relevant supporting details. And when I say relevant supporting details, what I'm going to do is, right? Too much stuff open for the classes, for the other classes. All right. So back here, right? So say this was my topic sentence. Okay. Now this paragraph is going to discuss an example, meaning like you're going to show your reader how this is true. Okay. Show your reader how this is true. Okay. Use a specific example. Don't just put don't just slap a giant quote in that paragraph though. Um, use your words, explain it, and then follow it up with the quote. Okay. And then follow up the quote with your own words. All right. And I'll show you how that works Wednesday when I show you all an example. All right. But make sure that each of your paragraphs contains relevant supporting details. Don't just put anything and everything in that paragraph. Make sure everything has a connection back to your topic sentence. All right. I excuse me, in math, sometimes you do a problem and in the book or the teacher says, okay, now here's how you check your work. All right. Or it's either some formula, that you can use to verify, or, if you were like me, you can look at the back of the book for the answers. All right. But the way you check your work in English is look at your topic sentence. right? Is every sentence in this paragraph connected to my topic sentence in some way, in a way that's clear to my reader? All right. So ask yourself that. Okay. So now we have the intro with these items, and then we have the body. Okay. Unified paragraphs that begin with topic sentences and contain relevant supporting details. And then finally, Chappelle show just came to Netflix and HBO Max. But yeah, the one skit with the wrap it up button. That's what you're going to be doing in your conclusion. Hit that wrap it up button. All right. So the main thing about your conclusion is you just don't want to introduce any new information. Like if there's another point you want to make that into another body paragraph. But as far as your conclusion is concerned, it just really provides closure, to the reader. You can leave them with a final thought, right? Don't give them any advice, I guess. Well, you can, but don't frame it as like you should do this or you should do that. All right. But whatever you do, just finish up strong. Okay, finish up strong. And this should be like I hate to give like a sentence count, but this try to make it at least 4 sentences. All right. Okay. Intro, body, conclusion. This is your organization right here. Okay. And really, sometimes this is taught as like a sandwich where the intro and the conclusion are your pieces of bread, and then the body, is whatever you like on your sandwiches. Okay. Or a meal where this is the appetizer, this is the entree because it's the biggest, and then here's the dessert. Okay. Or drinks if you're over 21. All right. So yes, this is our blueprint for organization. Intro, body paragraphs, and conclusion. Okay. I know many of us have heard the 5 paragraph model, and it still applies. It's just that we need more body paragraphs. But in principle, will still be the same. All right. Makes appropriate use of transition words. That's a paragraph coherence thing. Um, this is something we'll talk about. And like I was saying, MLA citation, it's a skill that should be developing by the time you get to 1510, but it's also something that you're going to keep on practicing. But my thing is the formatting is easy for MLA because it's just last name, page number, or you can make it even easier. You can just look at a model online. You can literally, all right, and you get a ton of resources. All right, but for the most part, your citations are going to be like this. All right, and I'll go back. I keep saying that I'll go back over this, but the first time you quote the book, it'll look like this with the last name, page number. But then every time after the first one, we'll just have the page number. And this is because we're only using one source for this assignment. If you're using more than one source, it's author's last name and page number every time. But if you're only using one source, this is the first time, or better yet, we'll set it up properly. We'll use a signal phrase. Ritz. All right. And then a comma. All right. So this is how we properly set it up. And you could get, fancy with the signal phrases. Noah, Noah explains his mother's compassion, and quote, or better yet, that's kind of a long signal phrase, but in essence, this is the signal phrase, but we just added more to it. Okay. But here's the citation. All right. Now, here's what you don't want to do. All right. You don't want to say this on page 64, Trevor says, all right. You can just, I mean, if you want to just use this as your signal phrase, you can, but you don't have to put the page number in your signal phrase. All right. Don't let your reader behind the curtain, so to speak. All right. And then works cited. You can use Scribber or you can use one of these other citation generators. Has paragraphs that focus on one main idea that is addressed in the topic sentence is further explained in the rest of the paragraph. Again, this is just paragraph unity and remains on topic from beginning to end. Stick to your thesis statement. Okay. Whatever idea you have in your thesis statement, that's what your paper is about. That's the idea you're locked into. One, that's what your reader is going to be expecting you to discuss. Also, your thesis statement keeps you organized. All right. And then, oh yeah, has been edited to address sentence level issues. Okay. First draft, do your best to avoid run-ons, comma splice, and fragments. And just awkwardly worded sentences, with syntax issues. All right. But by the time we get to your final draft, run-ons, fragments, comma splice, those should be at a minimum or non-existent. All right. So your first draft, though, I'm mainly concerned with you getting your ideas out. So, we'll do your best. We'll do our best with that. But at the same time, don't write paragraphs that are all one sentence. Okay. And then don't write an essay that's all one paragraph. That's stuff that we can work out, before we even get to the revision process, especially with where we are as writers having completed, one multi-draft paper already. One of the goals of English 1060 is for students, to show just improvement from assignment to assignment. And that's why last week, we are having a discussion. I was, saying to you, just make sure you're reading your feedback and going back over your own paper, because when we put like first and second or second and third draft side by side, there should be some significant difference. That's why, at the end of the semester, we, as evaluators, we look at all of your drafts because we want to see where you started and we also want to see where you finish. So, don't, if you're struggling with your rough draft, that's fine, but just keep going so you can work through those issues. Okay. First drafts, to be honest, first drafts rarely look how you want them to look. All right. It really, when you're writing a rough draft, sometimes you're still brainstorming too, so you're still kind of getting your ideas together. So, yeah, just make sure you do your best with this stuff with sentence level issues. And I'm just gonna add something. Has been edited to address surface areas. Same thing. When you do your final draft. All right. And I think I showed you all this before, but if you go to the website Grammarly and make an account, you can have it, you can set it up so it integrates, into Microsoft Word. So here's your spell check options. all right, if you just go into review. But if you go into Grammarly, okay, nothing happens. Now, if you open Grammarly, all right, so it reviews your paper for you, okay, and it just suggests things, all right. This is a great tool, Grammarly, okay. I use this all the time, for my own writing, all right. So yeah, and I don't pay for anything, so I definitely don't have the premium. And I've been getting fine. I've been getting by just fine with the free one. All right. All right. So now here's your job from now to Wednesday till we meet again. Think about how Trevor Noah's upbringing was affected by racism and poverty. And think specifically. Don't just say racism and poverty made his life harder. Of course it did. Okay. But how? Specifically, just like the examples, and you can use these examples in your paper. I don't care. Made it hard, made it hard to have a relationship with his father. Okay. Dictated where he could and could not live. Okay. Dictated how, he was educated. Okay. And, many other things. All right. But I think what all of this is going to hinge upon is your knowledge of the book. Okay. I can help you with a lot as far as this essay is concerned. But if you haven't been doing the reading, it's going to be difficult. And you have to keep in mind that you know everyone that's looking at your essay has read the book at least once. Okay, but some of us have read it multiple times because that's just how we do when we have to teach a book. But don't try to fake it. All right. And I'm saying this from experience. Like I've had people in the past just make up stuff that wasn't in the book, or things of that nature. And we hope we do read your essays. I know I read all of my students' essays and I read them carefully. So don't try to put things in the book that did, or don't try to put things in your essay that didn't happen, or don't try to just like fluff your paper. With you got 4 pages, but you aren't really saying anything in those 4 pages. All right, just do some brainstorming, come up with some ideas, and then get yourself organized. Right, I'm here to help. I'm here to guide. All right, questions for me? Because really, I just wanted to go over this today, and then Wednesday I'll go over the actual writing of it. All right, I'm actually going to upload this one. I'm going to take the one down that's on D2L now, and upload this one with this new material in there. Okay. Trevor. All right. Questions? Final thoughts? Okay. That's really all I have today, my good people. Again, just the way we started this class, is how I'm going to end it. Make sure you get that final draft of your instructor chosen essay in, and make sure you get your midterm in, all right, as soon as possible. Like if you haven't finished the midterm, drop everything that's school related or that's related to this class and finish that ASAP. Like that's the first priority. Get it done. All right. So that's that, folks.